Welcome, burnt bronze sons and daughters of the Most High God Yahweh. And anyone who really wants the truth right now, who can handle the truth from the Most High, Yahweh Sabaoth, the God of Armies. And so we're going to get started today. And what we're speaking on today is very important. You know, the 4th of July is coming up. And, you know, Americans tend to think that, okay, this is just another 4th of July. But it's much deeper than that. This is the end time conclusion. And being that it's the end time conclusion, what we're going to go through and what we will experience is totally different from anything our ancestors have experienced, albeit maybe during the time of Noah. So we must understand this is it. This is the end game. So you got to understand that the dark forces are working to fight against the Most High Yahweh. The Most High God Yahweh and his champions have descended to fight. And there are two battlefields. One is in America because it's the seat of the beast, the seat of the dragon. We call it Babylon. And then you have God's throne in Jerusalem, where he's also battling to restore it, right? But now what we're going to be talking about today is your location and what's going on behind the scenes. The dark forces are working, and as you might have heard on the news about these different lights coming down, they call them meteors, and then maybe it's a meteor, but they see different strange things flying through the sky. Said it's in Atlanta, South Carolina, North Carolina, different states in the South. Well, let me explain. First of all, let me remind you, I did a video back here about maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Well, I had it for quite a while, but I released it about 3 or 4 months ago. And it explained that the Antichrist has arrived. It explained how America was in trouble. And in that video, it also broke down, you know how in the scripture, it tells you that in the end times, God would bathe his sword in the heavens, then he would descend and bathe his sword in the earth to destroy Edom. Now, Edom ain't just on earth. Edom is also the fallen angel hybrids, those who set their nests, as the word says, in the stars. Now, what's happening now, this 4th of July is a special one. It's not like just any other 4th of July. Of course, like I said, if you watch that video about the Antichrist has arrived and America's in trouble, it will break down to you where these beings are coming from, what's happening. It's a culmination of their arrival to take possession of what they believe is theirs. America basically gave them a green light 60, 70 years ago to do what they wanted to. Of course, America was the seed of the beast, so it's evil all across the board. So what we're going to talk about today is what's coming. All right, so the forces of darkness has started to converge, and it's like a brother or two said online, a pastor. He was trying to explain that at the end times, Satan has to make America totally dark for him to be able to arise and do his work. Well, America is at that point now. You can see it coming apart at the seams. There ain't much left. And so we're going to talk about that today. We're going to start by speaking of Ephesians 5:15, chapter 5:15. It says, "See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, making up for time." That's what that means, redeeming the time. Because the days are evil. And I wanted to get people to understand what circumspect means. Circumspect means to act or move in a careful, cautious, and prudent manner, considering all possible consequences, and with a desire to avoid negative outcomes. Okay, so of course, like I told you before, I had been led by the Holy Spirit to warn God's people over the course of the last 6 years to get out of America. I told everybody to be out by 2023. A lot of people left, but a small percentage compared to how many burnt bronze sons and daughters live in America. So at this point, with the collapse already underway, it's harder to leave. And not to mention that it is a spirit, an oppressive spirit in the mind, and it can pull down your desire or your strength or your courage to move swiftly. So waiting till now is really made it really a constraint on most people. So what I want to talk to you today is what's happening behind the scenes. You see, we've been taught to depend on news and what they say. Of course, they lie a lot, they make up a lot. But let me explain to you what's going on. What is going on is these entities have begun to come into the atmosphere, descending down to the earth. When we say entities, yes, we're talking about creatures and beings that are not fully human. Although they can look fully human, disguise themselves as such, but you're going to eventually see them for what they really and actually look like. And that's going to be the terror in and of itself in America, because as you can see, they're locking down the borders more or less. It ain't just to keep people out, it's to keep you in. If you've been watching the food trail, food has been, limited, little bit. You get a little bit for a lot money. You have to pay more money, cutting off supply chains. All kind of things are closing in so that Satan will have control over whoever's living in America. I know it sounds sad, but it's true. Okay. So the idea of it is, you say, well, okay, what's the end game? The end game is he's already built an army. A lot of those people that you think are ICE agents, they're not full human. The CIA is full of hybrids. I wouldn't be afraid to say that most of the people working or part of the CIA, remember there's different levels all the way down into the ground in the CIA at the Pentagon, they are not full human. And that is why America is seemingly doing such weird things. You wonder, why are they doing such weird things? Why are they toxifying the food and the water? And what are they trying to do? Don't they care about their own people? You're not going to care about somebody that's not part of what you are. That's the mistake we've made. We were led to trust our government, but our government is a government within a government. In other words, dark forces are ruling America now. So basically what they're going to do is they're going to close everything off eventually. When it begins to collapse, of course, they put it on the people. People start rioting because of strange things happening, just like now, people being arrested. They can be American citizens. Eventually, the people are going to revolt, and that's going to be the opportunity for the creatures to basically take over. So this is, the movie Independence Day. Well, this is their Independence Day. In other words, they have moved into our outside of our solar system. They're coming in now. That's why you keep seeing these what they're calling, things coming from the sky like meteors. They're not meteors. They're not meteors. And even one lady took a video of something coming down with lights blinking as it came down. So I'm telling you, people, you don't understand. This is just not going to be an economic collapse. It's not just going to be a collapse where, for a little while we got our president is making bad choices, and eventually it'll get back on track, and maybe we'll have another election, and then things will get started all over again. No, this is the end for America. And everybody and everything is working together. Remember, Revelation said, and Daniel also said, how that these 10 kings would turn on America. Turn means that at one time they were very in league with America. They worked together. So you must understand, even the rulers of your country is being affected. The rulers of America are being affected, infiltrated. And so we've got to think, just like it said, what did it say in Ephesians 5:15? It says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools. We just brush by that circumspectly. It means not as a fool. Think of what's going to be the outcome when you can't go anywhere. You have that new ID that's supposed to be helping you to have a more easier, life and make it simpler for you to buy things eventually. You know, I told you this years ago that they were going to be probably using that, but they were going to make different applications, right? For that ID to be used in different ways that you weren't prepared for or told about. So I even heard this lawyer the other day saying, he was a black lawyer, he was telling everybody, well, listen, this thing is getting crazy with the ICE, arresting people. You better make sure you have your IDs on you at all time. I'm thinking to myself, that sounds a little funny. That sounds like another country. That sounds like something that you wouldn't even imagine, that you have in your own country, that you have to have your ID on you at all times. And this thing isn't just about you getting deported, because that would be a blessing if you weren't going to a prison. The thing they're doing is they're inflicting fear. Once you get a crowd of people in fear, like, oh, they're arresting all these people. People are afraid to go here and go outside their house. You've already been controlled. You're already almost hamstrung. Because once you get afraid, it's like cracking an egg. That egg is whole, it's complete, it's solid. But once I crack it, the yolk's coming out. So fear is like that. Once you get afraid, you're not going to be able to make wise choices. You're going to make decisions in a panic. And that's what they want. These entities, these beings want you afraid. And you have reason to be afraid. I'm here to tell you, darkness is taking over America. And they were trying to, pass it off to other countries. People think somehow that America is challenging Iran because it wants them to submit about, atomic bombs. No. Nuclear bombs. That's not it at all. Here's what the Most High told me. They want to spread perversion through the whole region of the Arab nations, the whole region of those who adhere to Islam and who have, standards and, laws and customs about how to live, how to dress, how the family is supposed to live. It's all about spreading darkness. It never was about atomic bombs. Think about it. They were already adhering, Iran, to the nuclear test, checking, inspectors, all of that. No, it wasn't about any nuclear bomb. It was about cracking that egg, getting inside your country so that they can have control over your people, corrupt them, and then what does the word say? It says sin is a reproach to any nation. Once a nation gets laden down with sin, it's easy to take it over. Because the people start splintering, the family starts breaking apart, the children starts being disobedient, and after a while the whole country collapses. So we must understand this whole thing is about darkness. Those working on the earth, the ones at the head, those working up in the stars, the Edomite bloodline, and we're not saying humans live up there. We're talking about human hybrids that they take DNA from people here on earth, mix and mingle with other things, and then make their nest in the star. That was Satan's plan all the time. He wanted humans corrupted. He did not want humans to be successful in living within God's laws. I'm going to bring more of this because it's crucial. Thank you for listening.